That time of the week again, Mr. Matty Mainwaring.
How are we, pal? Everything good?
Very good. How are you?
Good, man. I'm really well, thank you, mate. Really, really well.
How good is it to finally have a bit of decent sunshine?
Mate, unreal, as you can tell by my face.
Yeah, I was just going to say, where have you been?
Mate, do you know what? I was working today till about 2 o'clock, and I went out in the garden for 20 minutes and dozed off in it. And this is how easily I catch it. Yeah, so I mean, great, innit? Just need some after sun now. Yeah.
It's do you know what? Speaking of going out in the garden, Dicko would have been enjoying this one. I'm having some work done out in the back, and the electrician who's round is a really good mate of mine.
Yeah.
So I'm working in the kitchen, tapping away, doing me boring admin work stuff, and my mate knocks on the door, and he's just dug this massive trench, and he's laid a load of cables down and all this. He knocks on the door with 2 beers, and he's like, "Mate, it's a really nice day, and I've just dug a massive trench. Do you want to have a beer with me?"
Love that, mate. Love that.
It was lovely. Yeah,
that's what it's all about.
I looked at the beer and I thought, yeah, work, yeah, pause. Off we go. But
class,
yeah,
mate.
No Dicko tonight, and no player. We've gone for a bit of a different angle. We've got Dave Conlon joining us. I think
brilliant.
There's a lot of respect for Dave around the county community. People know him as the assistant. He stepped up on occasion, and I think when you hear that, as a player, before he comes on, I don't know if he can hear us, so you can be open and honest. How important is an assistant manager? You tell us, like, what's it like having an assistant?
I mean, an assistant manager is equally as important as the manager. Same way the players is, because I think the assistant manager's job these days, I think they have a massive contribution to the gaffer's decisions. That's why the assistant manager is the gaffer's right-hand man. But on the flip side, I think they almost act as a middle, like a bridge between the players and the gaffer. So they probably have a lot more dealings with the players than the gaffer does. In my experience, anyway. 9 out of 10 of them have got brilliant backgrounds. They've been here, there, and everywhere. They might have worked as a manager at higher levels, really high levels, and then maybe lost the way a little bit, a few bad results, lost their job or whatever, and they've stepped down or stepped up and managed to grab a job as an assistant higher up or lower down. They move around the circuit, so they're very experienced people. Well,
let's bring him in. Let's ask him. Let's ask him himself how important an assistant manager is, because he's here with us. Dave Conlon. Good evening, sir. How are we?
Good evening. Hi, Chris. Hi, Matt. You okay, fellas?
How are you doing? You okay?
Good,
very privileged to have you on, Dave. Welcome to Stockport County Live. I guess let's start on that topic then. We were just speaking to Matt. I was asking him from a player's perspective, the role of an assistant manager. Before we get into you and your history in Stockport County, how important is an assistant manager? What's your role in?
I'll be slightly biased and say it's really important.
The most important role in the club,
I wasn't going to go that far, but important. Yeah, it's a question you get asked a lot. Is what do you do as the assistant? What's the role of the assistant? And it's to try and support everyone who's around. It's obviously support the manager. What are the manager's doing? It's important that you back up that up, and you're singing from the same hymn sheet, and you're helping him in any way possible. You probably have a slightly different relationship with the players. You can be a little bit of a go-to or an in-between. So I think it's important that you've got a really good relationship with the players as well. And you're part of the bigger team, the bigger management team, where everybody's got their own specialist bits, but everybody contributes in a different way, whether that's goalkeeping, strength and conditioning, analysis, physio. You're part of that big management team. And everyone's, just trying to do their own little bit and contribute in some way to make the team as best as it can be and help the manager as much as he can do.
Matty was saying that in some occasions in his career, he would speak to the assistant more than the actual manager, because you're the kind of go-between, if you like. Is that something you can relate to?
Yeah, I think that can definitely be the case. I think there's, if you've got a squad of 20 players, it's impossible for the manager to speak to every player every day. So it makes perfect sense that the players will speak to other staff as much as a manager. There might be something they're a little bit unsure on, and they don't want to, necessarily go and knock on the manager's door. So, I think they can probably feel a little bit safer to speak to you sometimes before that. So it's vital that you've got the relationship where the players can come and ask you, and they probably want to sound ideas off you before they come and knock on the gaffer's door, that type of thing. So I think it's players see that as an important part of it, definitely.
And did you, I mean, to look at your own history for a moment, did you kind of do the coaching route first? Did you build up that experience?
Yeah, so sort of coaching path slightly different and varied. So I worked at Stockport at the Centre of Excellence at County. So I did that, and that was where I met sort of Lordy and Peter Ward and other staff there. Dave Ward, who was at the community. So I met loads of good coaches at the Centre of Excellence, and that was my sort of one of my stepping stones where I could learn and work with the talented players, and to be involved at hometown club in that capacity was fantastic. Obviously went away from that for a little bit, doing other coaching non-league and tutoring and teaching, etc. But I was still always doing the coaching, non-league, and on at the side at the same time. And then obviously came back to the club under Alan Lord at first. So came with Alan and Phil when Brownie was there. And then when Alan's time came to an end, worked with Jim at Northwich, and then came back sort of over 5 years ago to the club, working at the first team as assistant. And then still there now. Obviously, it's a lot different now with the club being full time. It's a million miles away from where it was when I was sort of there in the stint with Lordy. A lot has changed on and off the pitch.
Yeah, we'll speak about the club specifically in a few minutes. Just want to bring you in, Matty. When you were saying about you were talking to assistants on some occasion more than the manager, was that story what Dave was saying, like you said before, about moving around, gaining experience? Is that something that you would feed off as a player, because he's been around and he's maybe worked with different managers, so you're getting their input as well as your own?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as an 18-year-old kid who broke into the first team like I did in the first division, you're a small fish in a massive pond. So as a player, I need people like Dave with his massive experience. And I always found that because the gaffer generally reports to the board of directors, somebody in Dave's position, correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, but you'd almost be like you said before, the bridge between the gaffer and the players. And a lot of players would come to you firsthand for advice. And I felt like you'd be the one that might give you a little nudge in the right direction, a little bit of advice that that would contribute to you getting in the side. So it might be you that says you need to be a bit more aggressive. I've heard it from the horse's mouth, or you need to your stamina needs to pick up. You need some resi games, or you need to break forward a bit more. You need a few more goals. That's going to get you in the side, that sort of thing. And I felt like that would be your job. You'd be the one that relates to the players more than the manager.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree with that. I think it probably feels as a player, it probably feels a little bit safer just to say to the assistant or to a coach, what is it I need to do to impress the gaffer? What do I need to do? And that's where you can have that maybe informal chat of, well, if you just add this to your game or work on that, those examples that you gave, it gives you that little nudge in the right direction. And especially like you said, as someone at that age playing in the first team in the Football League, it can be quite daunting to go and knock on the door and say, why aren't I playing, or what do I need to improve, or you don't want to sound, no one wants to sound daft and ask a daft question, so it's maybe that little bit safer to bounce some ideas off, definitely.
Well, I think that aside as well, I think getting back to your question, Chris, what is the assistant gaffer's role? In a nutshell, I think he's a very, very qualified extra pair of eyes. You might see things the gaffer doesn't see, and maybe put a proposition to the gaffer and bang, it works a treat, and you've done your job. And I think that's how it happens perpetually, really.
Did you ever find yourself challenging a manager, Dave, and saying, I disagree, I want to do things a bit different?
Yeah, I think the best way you can work with anybody in doing anything is you've got to be honest, haven't you? And I think no matter what you're doing, you've got to be honest and say what you see and say what your opinions are. So, I wouldn't say it's challenging, but it's saying, well, in my opinion, or have you thought about this, or why do you want to do that? And I think it probably takes you as staff as well a bit of time before you feel comfortable to say that. Well, what about this? Or I'm not quite sure on that. And I think if you've got that relationship where you can say, well, you tell me what you think, or you challenge me, or you ask me questions, it's got to be healthy. It's got to be well, I don't agree with that. You could say now we could all pick pick the starting team for Saturday and we'd disagree. You know, three of us now, we pick different players, or we'd have a different opinion, or we see something different in somebody. So I think it's healthy to have those conversations, and fortunate, you know, to be in an environment where they are healthy conversations. It is good opinions, and that's from everybody. You know, asking the other staff what they feel, and you know, how's everybody feeling? You know, fitness, coming back from injury, what our thoughts were on the previous game, because everybody sees a game a little bit different. So it's healthy to have those conversations, definitely.
Just putting you on the spot a little bit, Dave. For you at that level with Simon, he's been here a little while now. Can you have those conversations?
Yeah, I think Simon's been great since he's joined the club, and he openly says, "What do you think? You know, what do you think to this? What's your opinions? What would you do?" I'm not saying he'll run with those ideas, but we'll have discussions, and he wants those discussions. You know, he's made that point from day one: is tell me what you think. You know, and you know, I wouldn't be doing my job if I just sat there and said, yeah, just agreed with everything. That's not what it is. So again, we'll have different ideas, and then whatever decision we come to, ultimately it is the gaffer's decision, but we'll all support that decision. But we definitely all, as a group of staff, contribute and throw our ideas into the mix.
The obvious question was always going to come: how have things changed in the last few months? The moving of Jim and the introduction of Simon. How are things different now?
Yeah, things are different as you'd expect. The biggest change is probably from 12 months ago to where we are now. You know, from the part time, the hybrid. You know, we were sort of one morning, couple of evenings, but you know, sometimes it was like the beg, steal and borrow of facilities, and you know, we were waiting for teams to finish on the pitch so we could squeeze our session in. And if the game before us ran over, we'd have less time. And, you know, since the start of this season, pre-season, we've been fortunate to have the facilities and the resources. They're unbelievable. You know, I'm sure you've seen it down at Carrington, but the pitches we've got, the infrastructure, the gym, the you know, the players' lounge, the chefs, the everything we've got. You know, it's an unbelievable place, and I think that's the big change. You know, from 12 months ago. You know, the club have completely backed the team and the club, and it's like it's a total different proposition now. There's obviously some changes recently as well for what you mentioned. You know, I think every coach and every manager has their own ideas. You know, how they see players, how they see games. I know it's sort of a buzzword a bit in football, isn't it? But their own ideas and philosophies and style of play, etc. So there's naturally been changes to, you know, on the pitch and on the training field over the last few months, as you'd expect. And you know, we've added a few new players as well, and you know, the team's sort of evolving all the time, as you'd expect.
I want to jump on that point about new players. We were speaking before, Matty, about another new signing today, another 2-year contract for Reedy. So Elliot moved his news the other week. To you first, Matty. I mean, as County fans, this is great to see. You know, strengthening in every department. It just seems like more and more good news as these players roll in.
It does, yeah. And it's really, really positive to see, and I think it coincides and correlates with what Dave was just saying there about the facilities, the chef, the calibre of lads that we're bringing in, the management staff. It's all great news, and it's all great news for the fans. And I think it's all part of that big push. You know, what are we now? We're sitting fourth. I think we how many points? 9 points adrift of top. Is that right? 9 points of top. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
So Come on, Dave.
Yeah, no, we're not looking that far ahead, are we?
No, I can't help it. No, we don't look past the next game, do we? But I mean, it's very positive, and I think it's a great statement to the fans and everyone involved with Stockport County that we're looking to kick on, and we're looking for this year to be the year. So yeah, fantastically positive.
Talk to us a little bit, Dave, about the new signing. I don't personally know much about him. He's come from Fleetwood, so I guess Paddy Madden may have had something to say about him. Tell us a little bit about what we can expect.
Yeah, I think just going back to that about the signings, I think it is exciting, isn't it? The fans want to see new players coming in, and I think you know, the club's lost some big players and important players over the past few years because they've only been on 1 year deals, which that's all you can commit to because you don't know where the club is, you don't know where the club's going. When it's part-time, you've got other commitments, work pressures. So I think it's pretty normal to have 1-year contracts under a part-time regime. But now when you've got a full-time regime and you've got plans to kick on and push forward over the next few years, it makes sense to build that squad of players now that you can do. And as we've alluded to, the facilities and the setup of the club now, it's great because it's an easy sell. Come to Stockport, look at what county you've got and the plans. It's exciting. Everybody wants to be a part of it and get on the journey now and progress over the next few years, which is great to see. I think with regards to new signing, I think we want to be as strong as possible, keep the squad as strong as possible for the remaining games this season, and it just adds yet more quality in an area of pitch where we maybe need an extra body just because the games are coming so fast and it's such a relentless schedule that to have the depth is really, really important. So it's an opportunity to add to give us that extra cover and extra options now. And also I think it's a sign that the club are doing, in terms of if you look at his age and his profile, he's got Football League experience. He played on Tuesday night for Fleetwood, so there's no doubt in his qualities that he's got and how good a player he is. And I think for somebody like that, we're a perfect fit. They can come to us, enjoy the football, play the football, still develop. We still want to develop them and improve them as players, and they can sort of stay on the journey. A little bit like Reedy's signed the extension today. And, he feels like he's found a home and he can commit now and he can be part of the journey and enjoy it. So I think it's a great signing as the individual and also the bigger picture of what the club's doing. I think it shows where we're moving to.
I want to ask you in a sec, Dave, about the assistant's role in signing players. But Matty, as a player, knowing that your working relationship doesn't, not that it doesn't matter who the manager is, but as a player, you're going to be liaising a lot with the coaching staff and the assistant manager in particular. As a player moving to a different club, would you have a look at, if you've got a couple of offers on the table, for example, you might look at, okay, first size of club, division status, what pay maybe, all that kind of stuff. But then do you have a look at, well, who's a coaching staff? Who am I going to be working with? Who's going to make me a better player? What examples of other players have they got that they've worked with?
Yeah, of course you do. I mean, you've named a few things there. We've got to be honest. Pay comes into it. We're in this, we're in it for love of the sport, but we're making a living as well. So that does have to come into it. People can't drop too much because they've got bills to pay and whatnot. But there are other things to it, especially as a young lad developing. When I got let go by Preston as an apprentice, I had a few little things on the table, and Stockport stood out, and they sat me down and said to me, they're doing great things over there. You're a ball-playing midfielder. They're looking to go up to the first division. They play a diamond in the middle. It'll suit you down to the ground. We played a standard structured 4-4-2, and it didn't really get the best out of me. And they said they're doing that over there. Jim Gannon, Peter Ward, Alan Lord, they've got a great thing going on. They've got a great crop of resi players that are hopefully going to break into the first team and replace them one day. So they've asked, can you go on trial? And I had a couple of things going, and that was the one really that I thought, that they're football inside and they're making waves, and that's Jim's sort of philosophy along with Pete and Alan. That's what I want to be involved in. I'm a footballer at the end of the day. I'm a ball-playing midfielder, and you do have a little look at that. You can't help it because you don't want to go from a place where your face doesn't quite fit, or whatever happens there, to a place, a similar place. Times against you as a player. It's a short career, so you have to have a look at those things. Yeah.
Echoing that, then, Dave. I guess it's important that Matt. I thought it was interesting in the way he said, "Yeah, I knew Jim was there." But then he goes on Peter and Alan as well. So he knew who the coaching staff were before he went. Did you play any role in that signing, or did they know who you were before they came in?
Yeah, you'd have to ask him that if he knows. Yeah. I think what Matt said is brilliant there, and credit to you, Matt, because you've done your homework of what the club's going to be like, and that you're asking all the questions. But I think if I was a your coach or involved in you, then I'd be like, brilliant, because you've done your homework, which you should do, and you know that that's an environment and a team that you can fit in and you can see yourself playing in. I'm sure if you'd have heard different things that they don't play through the midfield and they just lump it, go long, you're probably thinking, that's not for me. I'm not going to be able to show what I'm about. Yeah. So I think staff do their homework without a doubt, but I think it's important that the players do, and not all the players do. But I think credit to you that you did that, and it's going to make it much easier, because you're going to settle in where you know what's the manager like. You've probably asked other players who play under him, what's the manager like, what's training like, how do they play, is it going to suit me? And I think it just makes the transition that much easier. In terms of us recruiting, like I said, how the club's progressed in terms of off the pitch. Another area that the club's developed is the recruitment and the scouts. So there's the scouts behind the scene who work incredibly hard, and have got a long list of every player in every position that then becomes a short list and different targets and profiles. So there's a lot of homework that goes into it. It's not just we need this player, right, get one. There's loads and loads of research that goes into it in terms of the background, the pedigree, what they're like as a person. Speaking to people who've coached them, who've worked with them, who've played with them, played against them, on top of looking at them and watching the footage. And I think it's a combined effort of everybody having a look and getting a feel for it, and then ultimately you pick which players are available and become top of that list.
Just one final one on County then, Dave. I remember a couple of summers ago now, you and I were at some form of end of season function. We may have had a scoop or two. Yeah, maybe just one. And I remember asking you something along the lines of, "You're looking forward to a bit of time off," and I remember your response was, "This is probably our busiest time now because we're getting everything. We're well underway for preparation for the next season." What's your schedule looking like? The next 6 months you've got end of season, potentially, probably, if we say it quietly, playoffs. Then a summer of either preparing for either this division or the one above. At the moment, we don't know. And then the season starting in either that division or this one. So what's your next 6 months like?
It looks busy. I think, like you say, we talked about the sort of part-time to full-time, but I know people have said it, football's all the time because it's every day. When you have your game on a Saturday night, Sunday you're analysing Saturday, you're getting ready then for Monday's training, and 9 out of 10 weeks this year we've had a game on a Tuesday, so it's prepped, it's non-stop, and that's going to continue right the way to end of May or June. We're going to be every day, even your day off, you're sort of prepping and planning, and you're looking out at next year's squad and what's the profile look like, and I think you can see the planning that it's already going into it. The recent extensions of the current group of players, so it's showing faith and sort of rewarding those players that have done so well, so they're part of the plans of next season. There's obviously lads that were contracted, when they signed this time last year, will start the season on longer term deals, and the new players coming in, so the squad's taking shape, and you can see that by the recent bit of news with the signings that's come out. So it's continuous. I don't think you ever switch off, you never stop, you're always looking, whether that's the next game, the planning, the prep, the players, whatever it is pretty constant. I'm hoping we do get a bit of time off in the summer, but it is, I know, they'll be saying for you, Matt, as a player, won't it? You'll get a little bit of downtime, but then you'll be trying to stay fit again, won't you, and doing your stuff, so you don't have any, you get a little bit of downtime.
Yeah, I think your headache continues all year round, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We do get some time off, but I think you never, in your position, I don't think you ever stop thinking about what the next move is. I think that's the difference.
I see it the same as a guy who does a little bit on the radio and social. It's so hard. I have to sit and watch so much football, and then it goes away for 3 months, and I have nothing to do. Okay, so moving away from county then, or I don't know, maybe in a few years this will be relevant to county if everything goes well. But the football news this week was ridiculous. But I just want to ask you both about it. Breakaway league. If you were offered a role as Stockport County moving into this European, I don't even want to say it, but European Super League with Juventus and Barcelona, what would your reaction be? What would your response be if you were involved in one of the big six and that was put to you?
Who's going first? Are you going first, Matt? Or
to the room?
I'm completely against it, to be honest. As probably most people are. I think it's going to destroy English football and European football. I think you don't mess with a good thing. We've got a great system going on. There's a lot of incentives for clubs who are maybe 7th or 8th or lingering around that 6th position that want to break into the Champions League. And it's just becoming money based now, more than ever. You don't mess with a good thing, in my opinion. I think we've got a fantastic tier system in world football and European football, and I think keep it with that.
Yeah. I agree. I think.
Yeah.
I think, like I said, we've got the the pyramid and the structure and the system we've got, and I think it's crazy. I know there's been so much said about fans, and for us at County, we're missing the fans so much. It's every game, and no matter how many games we've played, it doesn't become the normal. It's quiet, it's airy, and I'm not making excuses by any means, but you look at some of the games, and I'm sure you're playing at Edgley Park, and you've got packed 10 cheering you on. It sucks the ball in, and you get the goals, and it is all about the fans. And I know, not sounding cheesy, but football is all about them, and that's what they want, and the fans want to enjoy it. And we've missed an unbelievable amount. And I think people are trying to make these ideas and suggestions. It's all about the money. They're not thinking about the fans, are they?
No, it's it was just surreal. It was just surreal, and then seeing them all pull out, because one thing that I've heard a few people say, and I think I would agree with. I seem to remember this story coming out like a few years ago. That they're talking about this breakaway Phoenix League, and they're going to do this and that, and it died away again. And it seems to just rear its head every few years. This time it went a little bit further in that there was official statements involved, and every club was kind of throwing it out there. But I don't know, the Champions League, we don't often speak about the Champions League on this podcast. Why would we? But a couple of years, I think there'd be an argument for saying it's almost in its prime at the minute. The fan issue aside, that when Liverpool won it a couple of years ago, when Tottenham had the thriller with Ajax and Liverpool had the last minute winner at Barcelona and everything that went on, that was some of the best football away from Stockport County I've ever seen. Like, why would you want to break that?
Yeah, I agree, Chris, completely. I think it's so special, just like the FA Cup is. There's some giant killing going on in the FA Cup every year, and I think it's similar in Champions League. If you're lucky enough to break into the last 16, the last 8, and you're a club that doesn't quite have the finances of a PSG or a Man City, it's so exciting and so beneficial for these clubs, and they get the rewards by getting as far as they get. And I think take that away and make it the elite only. You're just building a bigger gulf between the top end and the rest of the world, really.
Yeah, everyone loves that. Like I said, the giant killing, don't they? And the opportunity that anybody can get there. And you only have to look recently at some of the runs in the FA Cup, or teams that have worked their way up the pyramid and got into the Premiership. And it's crazy just to shut the door and say that's it. These are the best teams, and I'm not even sure if they all were the best teams. Is it? Are they? Just saying that's it. Short lots. No one else can join us. No.
I mean, it's pretty ballsy of Tottenham to throw their name in there, if we're being honest. But fair play to them for getting on the bandwagon, I guess. Okay, well, listen, Dave, I'm wary of keeping you for too long tonight, so I think we can start to wrap things up there. It's really interesting hearing the role of an assistant as a football fan. I mean, I have no experience as a player or on coaching staff anywhere, and you can be guilty of. There's the team and there's a manager, and and if something's good, then it's on the manager. If something's bad, it's on the manager. If we're not scoring goals, it's on the striker. I don't know, whatever. But in reality, it is such a big machine, isn't it? And you are such an important cog.
Yeah, I think that goes for everybody that contributes to it, don't they? You say you're not on the staff, but you had an opportunity, didn't you, the other year, when you were going to be assistant for the day, weren't you?
I'm so glad you've just reminded me of that. So for context, yeah, I entered a raffle, and do you know what's funny? So we entered a raffle where there were some really good prizes in there. It was at the end of season 2, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, there was. What was there? There were some really good prizes like signed shirts and day experiences and things like that. And the top prize was you could be an assistant manager for a competitive game. And I won. And what's really interesting is just before they drew, someone tried to swap numbers with me because they were on balloons, these numbers. And he was going, I think I've got yours. Do you want to swap? And I was going, no, I'm all right with this one. And then it won. And I couldn't believe that I'd won. And it never came. Yeah, Dave, I'm really glad because
you're trying to cash it in now, aren't you?
As you said, the assistant manager is the most important role at the club. So, and I've been advocating a long time that I should get at least a 10-minute run out at some point. So,
I think so, Chris. I think so.
I think we'll all agree.
Put your feet up, Dave.
Yeah, as long as I get the day off, we'll be all right.
Oh, right. I'm so glad you reminded me of it. I completely forgot. Listen, Dave, I will be bothering you for notes before that happens, but it's been a treat having you on. And I should say as well, kick-up champion from a couple of years ago. Gary Stopford did do more kick-ups than you, but you really surprised me when you hit about 400 kick-ups in one go.
I'll have to have G-Stop a rematch. Get him on for a rematch. No, thanks for having us, Chris. Always good to chat. Always good to chat and nice to speak, Matt. Good to see you, pal.
Too, mate. You're doing a great job. Keep it up, pal.
Thanks, pal. Take care. See you both soon.
Excellent. Thank you very much.